Feel like clapping for it? Yeah. All right, sing this with me. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Help a sister out. Dun, 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 dun. And they're always glad you came. Dun, dun, dun. You want to go where people know troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. Good, okay, great. We all yearn for a sense of belonging, for a community where we are understood and loved and supported. Yet we may find that the way to such a community is not to build walls around ourselves and only include others who are already like us. If we belong to a community where everyone is expected to be a certain way, you're only welcome as long as you measure up to the standard. And that is not true welcome, and it's not true community. This series, called Loving Generously, has emphasized that generosity is not a matter of giving stuff. It's a matter of giving ourselves into relationships and loving generously the people God puts into our lives. True generosity shows itself in the whole life, not only in discrete acts like writing a check, but in relationships with the least of these. In other words, generosity is about people. Generosity is about serving everyone God puts into our lives. But we cannot serve them selflessly unless we love them. And we cannot love them truly unless we know them. We must tear down the walls that keep us from building meaningful relationships with the least of these. If you remember, we're here last year when we did Living Generously. This whole journey started with this comparison of sheep, stinky sheep and good sheep. It was that first episode of Living Generously where Frank wanted to give that kind of old broken watch to the family who had just come back from being missionaries. And it was his son who had given away that prized airplane. His son had given his best, and Frank had given his last and leftover, the stinky sheep. Martin Luther, it's a good day to talk about Martin Luther. He has this quote: "I have held many things in my hands and I have lost them all. But whatever I have placed in God's hands, that I still possess." Here at New Life, we talk about being Christ in motion, that we carry God's grace with us, that we extend it through all we say and do. That is how we can be Christ's hands and feet in this world. That is how we can love generously, because we have Christ's light in us and we share that light in the world. The film this week just depicts a wedding, which is a picture of the union of Christ with the church and his bride. And a wedding is also the ultimate image of a human union, the ultimate human example of a commitment to forgive and love and support each other regardless of what life may bring. True whole life relational generosity can serve as the catalyst for an extraordinary kind of community. In this film series, we began to see this community forming when the name cards were ripped up at the table. All were welcome and everyone supported one another. As the series went on, these relationships matured and deepened as everyone came to know and love one another more fully. And now they reach a wedding where two imperfect people, redeemed and restored, commit to be made whole with one another. The golden rule is the essential logic of human relationships, the most helpful guide ever devised to show us what we can do to serve one another. When we learn to love one another, then we learn to consider the golden rule. If we all are equal, all members of the one body, then we learn, well, we should treat others in the same way we would want them to treat us. This morning, we encourage you to have a response to this film in your own life. We've been encouraging actions throughout the week Today we ask you to consider how you might take this series deeper. In a little bit, we're going to hear some final words from Ray, and then the ushers will pass out a response card. This is for your personal use. It's not for you to hand in or show anybody else. It's for you to think on and ponder this week. After we watch Ray's last words, then you'll get this card, and as the soloist sings the hymn, you'll be invited to take some time and think how you can begin and continue loving generously. So, first, some thoughts from Ray.
Jesus told his followers in John 12, "Truly I say unto you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. A seed unfallen is a seed unplanted. A seed unplanted is a seed unfruitful." Before my life humbled me, I was a proud man and a barren life. Even with loved ones, I felt alone. But in losing everything, I discovered what endures. I learned the one thing I need forever is the one thing the world can never take. When a seed falls to the ground, it splits open. New life begins to flow from its womb, and it grows out of its brokenness, spreads new roots and shoots toward the sky and begins to bear fruit. The fruit it creates is for the feast table of God, where people of every tribe and nation are gathered. And around that table is a fellowship unlike any you've ever had. In other words, true community forms among brothers and sisters who are dead to themselves and serve one another. We all want true community, but few are willing to accept the dying part that comes first. Frank and Cassie invited the poor into a banquet with their rich friends, and now those same poor invite the rich to their wedding. The golden rule, which Jesus says sums up the whole of the law and the prophets, bids us to serve and honor and love others in the same way that we would have them serve and honor and love us. It summons us to a table where all are loved, where everyone has a name, and where each one cares for the other. What can you do right now to show love one to another? How can you welcome those the world excludes, honor those the world scorns, love those the world despises, and lift up those the world has trodden down? How can you, like the seed, fall down and die, and in your brokenness bring new life, bursting forth, a new community, a new family of God? Today is the day to love generously. Would you join me in showing love and honor one to another?